Hey guys, it's Roderick. We're here for the recap, review, and more reaction to the Netflix series, The Sandman. So, by this time, you've all had a chance to go ahead and watch The Sandman, or you don't care about the spoilers or whatever. So, I really wanted to kind of get in and delve into the show a little bit more after I kind of really encourage you all to watch. So, pretty much there's 6 main storylines that kind of go through the Sandman by the 11 episodes, right? So I'm going to kind of tackle it that way, kind of starting through, because it really does kind of seamlessly go into like maybe 3 different plot points or whatever like that. So if you watched the first video, you already heard the fact that I said this is a really great show. One of the things I really liked about the show, besides the visual imagery, is the fact that the writing is very clear, very concise. The actors do a very good job of really kind of emoting and giving you a kind of emotional sense of where the characters are. Like if you kind of compare like, Tom Sturridge's The Dream to maybe the character in True Blood, I forget what the main character's name is. They both kind of have that same kind of like emo-y look. Like the guy in the vampire in True Blood is kind of like an older version of him, but he doesn't just look like growly all the time. Like every word that the Dream speaks, is very like intentional, and that's just really a great a showing of really good writing, actually. So the first storyline, the first like really 4 episodes of the show really kick off with the exciting incident of the Dream getting captured by Roderick Burgess. So what happens is the Dream is minding his own damn business in Dreamland, creating dreams, making people wake up, doing what he does, and this motherfucker, Roderick Burgess, is so butthurt over the fact that he lost his son, which is not to devalue death, but he really can't get over the fact that he lost his son, even though he has a younger son that he clearly neglects and treats poorly, right? He decides to form him a whole ass cult and decide that he's gonna summon death, right? To find a forced death to give his son back. Now, what is not explained in the show, which I haven't read the trade, is Roderick tries to summon death, but he ends up actually summoning Dream instead, right? I don't know how that happens or why that happens. If you all know and read the comic book, let me know what the actual technical, mystical reason why he couldn't grab death, but instead grabbed Dream. So Dream is in the process of getting the Corinthian back and then Roderick Burgess summons him. Dream shows up in the basement of the house without his powers, totally weakened in this like spell circle, and now he's been captured by Roderick Burgess, right? So Dream has his helm, the little like Sandman has. He has his little ball, he has his little sand, and he has the jewel, right? Those are all like his ailments or like things of his peerage or of his power, right? So Roderick Burgess takes those. Actually, his punk ass sends his young ass child to go do it. The show kind of is showing like how much or how little he cares about the child. When he goes and kind of reaches for it, he's like, ooh, this may be bad. Sends the boy to go and grab this stuff. Then, he takes it. So by having the sand, the helm, and the jewel, Roderick Burgess is giving exceedingly long life, wealth, power, and popularity. Meanwhile, the Corinthian senses, right, that the Dream has been captured. Now, mind you, the first time I watched it, I thought that he was like in the middle of just murdering somebody and taking their eyes. Then after watching it again, it was like, oh, since the Corinthian is like sexually fluid, it looked like he was in the middle of a whole trick, right? Like he was fucking this guy, and then after he fucked him, decided to take his eyes, which I think is kind of rude, but whatever. So the Corinthian shows up to Roderick Burgess's house and tells him, this is what you need to do. That circle ain't gonna last. You need to put him in glass and you need to capture him. So while the Dream is captured by Roderick Burgess, people are not having dreams and they're not waking up from the dreams they've had since from the time in which he's been captured, which is wreaking havoc in the dream world because Dream is the actual embodiment of his world and people can't dream and therefore things aren't really working as normal, which I thought was a very, very great setup. So it's like a huge problem. Like, how's Dreams gonna get out of this? Why is Roderick Burgess such an asshole? Why does he treat his child so poorly? But anyway, then we get Ethel Cripps, who's like this, like a hoe, right? Pretty much, kind of slithers her way into Roderick Burgess's life and becomes like the side piece mistress or whatever, right? So this young girl's fucking this old man. Hey, we need places to eat. We need things to do. So meanwhile, the boy is in here watching. His son is in here watching him kind of like torment or try to get Dream to bring his son back. Dream is not speaking. Dream will not say a word to him, right? So Dream's crow, Jessamy, has been flying around trying to figure out how she's gonna get, like it's a talking crow. She isn't talking at this point, but she's like flying about or whatever. And the Corinthians like, you need to take care of this crow. So anyway, so that really kind of sets up our exciting incident. So the next episodes are really about, watching. So Ethel gets pregnant, surprise, surprise, tells him, he's like, get rid of it. She gets mad and then decides that she's gonna run away, take all his money, take all the little magical things of the Sandman and run the fuck away, pregnant and whatever, right? Who could have seen that coming? Like, really? Like, you didn't have him locked up? I guess it was locked up, but I guess he must have been mumbling the combinations while they were fucking or whatever, because she surely gooped him for everything that she had, right? So at this point, the young boy girl has killed Jessamy at this point, which I just thought was a very heartbreaking scene, because I kept kind of hoping like maybe the boy's gonna let him out, maybe the boy's not gonna let him out, but we really see that this whole the dreams capture very much mirrors what we see at the end of the series with Calliope, right? With her another kind of mythical being being captured and humans really not acting on any type of sympathy or empathy to keep them captured, right? So you see like both of them, just like Dream kind of like changed hands, so did Calliope kind of change hands, and neither captor was willing to let them go. Even though Roderick Burgess was not getting any benefit of having Dream captured except for, I guess, the wild parties and whatever that was going on. So the son is like, I want to be rid of you, okay? If you tell me that if you tell me that if I let you go, you weren't trying to kill me or do whatever, I'll let you go, right? But Dream is in his feelings because the son has killed the bird. He's like, I can't trust you. I ain't gonna fuck with you. You will catch the same silence your fucking daddy had for motherfucking 80, 20 years or whatever like that. So Dream has not spoken a word in almost 100 years, right? So the boyfriend, meanwhile, we come to find out that the son is gay, ends up falling in love with a stable hand, right? So Paul, his name is Paul, and then, the son's name is Matthew. So Matthew and Paul have like this love affair living in the manor or whatever, because Matthew has low-key accidentally killed his father, when that father got real greasy in the mouth, pushes the father up against the thing, he bleeds out, whatever, dies, Matthew inherits the manor, and he's like, look, I've been trying to get rid of you for like 40, 50, 60 years, okay? Why don't you fucking talk so I'll let you out? And Dream is like, I probably should have trusted him, but it's not. Well, leaves me to say about voiceover, right? So as a general rule for me, if a show or a series starts off with voiceover, that's a character kind of talking and we seeing action, I immediately become skeptical, right? Because the mantra is show, don't tell. The Sandman does a very good job of using voiceover to really narrate and move it through without involving ourselves in too much exposition, right? So it doesn't really give away too much, but kind of like acts as a little thread or a needle sometimes to button up certain plot lines or certain scenes or certain character motives. And I think that's a very excellent way to use voiceover. Far many times, too many screenwriters use voiceover to do work that really the writing should do, and they do not do that in The Sandman, which I think is a really good job. So Paul, who is Matthew's boyfriend, whatever, is pretty much kind of sick of this shit. So Matthew gets in his wheelchair, and when Paul like scoots Matthew out, he breaks the spell chain, right? Breaks like the little spell circle, and then Dream sees that. And then, mind you, the two disrespectful security guards are calling Dream Dracula to his face. The one was like, he's like, why do you call him Dracula? Because he looks like a Dracula. Because, the character's all pale and pasty and gothy looking. So disrespectful. So she, whatever. So, needless to say, Dream breaks out, right? Now, when Dream falls asleep or is first captured, they show us to a woman named Unity Kincaid, right? So Unity is this like young black girl who falls asleep from the sleeping sickness, which is Dream being captured, and we meet her in the beginning, right? And the show flashes to her a couple points during like the first segment. What we don't know is this is the same Unity Kincaid that we end up meeting towards like in the middle, and then another plot line that becomes very, very important. And again, I like the way that the show kind of sets up in the beginning a lot of the main plot points that we're going to see in the rest of it, right? So the first one is Dream getting his stuff back. So now he has to get all his shit back, right? So then he has to he goes and meets the Fate. So he shows back up to the dream world and it's a mess, right? Dreams have left, nightmares have gone. Good old Lucien, the librarian, is here just holding it together. And I thought that was a very good, again, the visuals of the dream world were like really, really good. So now Dream has to get his shit back, right? He doesn't know where to start. So of course he has to go see the Fates. So again, Gaiman kind of weaves in mythology of the Fates and really Hecate, excuse me, kind of the three-headed crone to embody the Fates, who see everything. So he gets his sacrifice to the Fates and he goes and meets the Fates, them, and he asks them 3 questions. So he's like, where is my helmet? Where is my amulet? Where is my sand? And like all mythical beings, you know, they kind of give him the runaround, right? Like answer your questions in riddles. So he finds out, excuse me, that his helmet's been taken by a demon, right? The amulet and the sand is with Joanna Constantine, and then the amulet was held by Ethel Cripps, right? Because when she took everything, right? We see that Ethel is the one who traded with the demon the helmet for the amulet, right? So in the intro of this, the Corinthian goes to find Ethel and is like, hey, he's a-coming and you need to get ready. And Ethel's playing very coy because she's now this like high stakes, you know, art dealer, smuggler, trader, whatever, who's used her endless life to like amass these wealthy things and selling them to people at the highest bidder, right? So she's living like her best white ass rich woman life, right? In Buffalo, on lockdown, but whatever, right? I guess that's what you do, right? Because when you stole fucking shit from your husband and you done took shit from like the master of dreams, I guess you kind of can't be low key. Like she ain't here stunting and flossing, but she's living under the radar. Needless to say, the Corinthian finds her and is like, he's coming. And when she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, my son has the amulet. I don't know. I don't have the helm anymore. He's like, well, okay, bitch, I'm going to pop out your eyes like I be doing everybody else. Needless to say, her amulet protects her from like all type of bullshit, which is why she got it, right? So she got the amulet to kind of protect her in case Morpheus ever decided to come back, which I don't know if that would really work since he can just invade her dreams anyway, but you know, I guess you do what you got to do. So she sends the Corinthian right on back to Dream World, okay? Where he shows up with Lucien and he's like, you lucked out because he ain't here, but when he gets back, your ass is next. So he's like, I guess I got to be up to, you know, doing what I need to be doing, right? So he goes in, so the first thing he goes after is his sand, which is held by Joanna Constantine. He's like, I knew a Joanna Constantine 300 years ago. So this Joanna Constantine is a relative of the woman we see later on in the episode when Dream is meeting with his friend every 100 years, right? So every 100 years, Dream meets with a friend that his sister Death has said, why don't you give him immortal life? Because he was like, if I live forever, I do all of this. And they were like, Dream's like, well, I'll give him immortal life. And he meets them every 100 years, right? So every 100 years, Dream meets with this guy. And he's like, so how's your life going? So anyway, in the middle of them meeting every 100 years, somebody peeps them, draws a picture, and this Joanna Constantine from, it must have been like 17, yeah, so it's like 15, 1600 shows up, was like, everybody shows a picture of the devil and the Jew. And then Dream's like, I ain't no devil. The other guy's like, I'm not Jewish. So rude and disrespectful. And anyway, so she tries to kidnap them, doesn't work out, right? But he ends up hiring her to do something later. What he asked her to do, we don't know. I'm sure it's in the trade or whatever. But this is a relative of that woman who we meet later, who we meet in the series. So he's like, you got my bag of sand. And she's like, you know, very British. Say, get in line, bro, blah, blah, blah. So she is on her way to an exorcism, right? Because she has to exorcise a demon from what she's thinking from one of the royal families or whatever. Come to find out, the demon is in the fiance, not the princess. So the demon pops out, and then Dream is like, hey, stop your exorcism. I need to know where the fuck my shit's at. She's like, fuck you, I'm gonna keep on exercising. He's like, look. The demon's like, I'll tell you where your shit is, just don't send me back to hell. So she's like, and then the demon leaves. So Dream is totally pissed. So Joanna decides, well, I'll help you get your sand back. Well, the sand is with her lesbian lover or whatever. So then, needless to say, a new crow has arrived because Lucian is really running shit. She's like, you need a crow. You already got gooped up for 100 years anyway. We can't have you getting caught up again. I'm going to send you a new crow. So this new crow comes by and, his name is Matthew, which now I'm wondering, is this the same Matthew? Isn't the crow's name Matthew? Is this the same Matthew that he killed? That he ends up being his crow? Drop down in the comments. Or maybe it's a totally different person, but I could have sworn the crow's name was Matthew too. Anyway, so the crow's like, okay, if I were you, you need to go up there and get your sand because humans can't be trusted and they're not trustworthy. So Dream goes upstairs and sees that the lesbian lover has been holding onto the sand, dreaming of a time where her and Joanna can be reunited. Dream's like, okay, this bullshit. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. She dies. And then Joanna, who's been having nightmares of this exorcism gone wrong, he's like, thank you for helping me. I'll make sure you don't have those nightmares anymore. Boop, bop, da boop. He gets his sand, right? So then McCrow's like, okay, right. Where's the rest of the shit? He's like, okay, well, I don't really need you. I don't need no crows. The last time I had a crow, they died. And then Matthew's like, I don't know, because it seems like you need my help. So Jim's like, okay, bet. We about to go to hell. So he's like, what? Yeah, because that's where my shit is. It's in hell. So it leads us then to my favorite episode of this show is Dream going into hell, and really the landscape and really the allegory of hell and the interaction between hell, hope, and dreams, right? So Dream goes to hell to go get his shit. And he goes so now he doesn't have any of his things to prove that he's a sovereign. So pretty much he has to show up like without any of it. Meets the demon takes him into hell, right? So then the demon, being trifling, because demons are trifling, leads him past his former lover, right? Nada, right? So he's like, Nada, K-Cool, and we get this whole kind of backstory of something that happened between the two, but she ended up being in hell because Dream sent her in hell, right? But Dream, being salty, has not forgiven her, so the only way I guess she can come out of hell is if he forgives her, but Dream hasn't forgiven her yet. I'm sure, again, this is in the trade. I kind of looked up a little bit of it, but I didn't want to spoil like too much. So this whole Dream and Nada situation, that is really heavy and deep. So anyway, we go tracing the log, and here we go, the Lucifer Morningstar herself, played by Gwendolyn Christie, Brianna Tarf, giving us wings, giving us devilness, realness. And I was like, okay. Not always a big fan. I don't really watch a lot of things that have like satanic imagery and stuff like that. I think that kind of like seeps into your like mind process. But this I really liked because it wasn't such a horrific imagery of the devil, and it really kind of shows you kind of like how the devil can really look appealing and a lot of the tricks and ploys that the devil breaks. So if you're covered by the blood, you can go ahead and watch it. So anyway, Dream has to get his helm back. The devil's like, well, where is it? Do you know who has it? She's like, no, I don't. Well, she summons the demon. She goes, we see all the demons. She goes, well, how are you going to get their thing? Because the devil is not really in the business of helping Dream out, right? Because the realm of dreams is a total anathema to the realm of hell, right? And we kind of find out at the end why the kingdoms of dream and hell are going to always clash. So she's like, well, I don't know how you're going to do it. Good luck, too bad for you. Dream's like, don't got this. He's like, I ain't new to this shit. Sprinkle some sand. The demon with the helm shows up. Dream's like, give me my shit back. The demon's like, nah, that's okay. I'll fight you for it. Dream's like, okay, this ain't gonna be no quick fight. He's like, I'll represent myself. The demon's like, well, I'll have Morningstar Lucifer Morningstar represent me. Dream's like, okay, I'm still getting my shit back, right? So the bird's kind of like, I don't know about this, but we'll see how this goes out. So they do this challenge, right? And it's like this I am challenge, which I thought was a very inventive a really great thing. So Lucifer starts off as she's like, I'm a dire wolf, hunting, prowling, which really much goes, with the imagery that you biblically you hear about the devil as a prowling beast roaming, seeking the who he can devour, right? So then Dream's like, that's cool. I'm a hunter with a bow, dire wolf killing. And I was like, there we go. So then she's like, I'm a snake. And like with every battle and every I am statement, you see the effects on the opponent, right? So when he's like shoots the bow with the dire wolf, she gets like a hole in her chest. When the snake bites the horse, Dream starts to see the effects of the poison. So then she's like, I'm a snake. He's like, nope, I'm a bird of prey, snake eaten. So then she's like, okay, I'm like bacteria that kills the bird. He's like, fine, I'm a world with sunlight that kills the bacteria. She's like, I'm a supernova that kills the world. She's like, I'm the universe that encompasses everything, that it goes on forever. She's like, I am anti-life. I was like, ooh. And then I was like, okay. And me and the bird are like, what's she gonna do, Dream? Like, she's anti-life. That is it. Like, what can survive all the when life has been taken away from you, right? And then he goes, I'm hope. I was done. I was like, that's it. That's it. This show has me hooked. I love that. Right? Because hope endures for all, forever. Hope endures. It is a curse, it is the blessing, and it is everything, right? So I really loved the way that buttoned up and the way they did that. And then you see the devil is pissed, right? The devil's like, fuck. It's like, because it's this kind of mental, spiritual, mythical set of like chess that they're playing, right? So then devil's like, get your shit, get the fuck up out of here, right? Like, get it and go, right? The demon don't want to give it back. Old girl, the little mezzanine, magazine, or whatever her name was, the little consort, snatches the helmet, throws the devil out. So then Dream's like, okay. The devil's like, don't be getting too hard and haughty because you done came in here and took my shit. Because first of all, just because you beat me with hope, what does Dreams have to do? How can Dreams really fight the legions of hell? And the Dream says, which I thought was one of the best things of the show, is that hell only has power where people have hope, right? Because the hell that people have is when their reality isn't matching it with their hope, right? Because if there was no hope, if there was no dream, there would be no hell because people would not hope for something better, right? Oh, loved it. This is that again, the 4th episode, favorite episode, loved it. So Dream has his shit back. Now he has to get his fucking jewel back. Excuse me. Now we get to like probably my least favorite storyline was with the Johnny character and Ethel. Ethel has locked herself in an asylum because he's had the jewel. He's gone crazy. She goes to see him being like, the dream's coming. He's all like, you're a horrible mother. I hated you. And I'm just like, you're in like a pretty good asylum here. Like, let's start like being a little bit grateful. So then Ethel ends up being like, fine. I'll take my amulet off that's been keeping me alive to keep you safe since I've been such a shitty mom. Gives it to him. He ends up leaving the asylum, runs into the Corinthian who's like, here's my jacket and you keep on doing what you're doing because I need you to fuck up Dream. So he ends up stopping with hitchhiking with this lady who he ends up scaring the fuck out of to go get his jewel. Now, Dream has his helmet and his sand and he arrives right before Johnny does to get his jewel back. But Johnny has, I guess the word is, molested, changed, abused the jewel such that it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work anymore, right? So it knocks Dream out. Johnny now has scared this poor lady who he's been driving. I forget what her name was, Sonia, I think it was. And she's all scared for her life and he has the jewel, whatever. And he's like, don't worry about it. I have my jewel. You take this amulet of protection and nothing will ever harm you. So I was like, are we going to see her again? Like, she just seems like a very interesting character. Needless to say, Johnny gets the jewel and he stops in this diner. And which was a very interesting episode. I didn't really watch it like a whole lot the second time because it was a whole lot, right? So basically, Johnny's job's in this diner. We have a waitress who really wants to cook. Then we have like the CEO and her husband. Then we have this lesbian. We have a guy applying for a job. They're all in a diner. Like it pretty much gives you that hotel movie with John Cusack kind of thing where like they're all connected into one. Anyway, Johnny really much uses his gym to get the inner desires of people out so that so their true feelings can come out. You could have found the cook. He's been going on dates with the waitress, but then he's creeping upstairs to fuck her 20-year-old son. And then the CEO is just really hates her husband. The husband ends up getting a blowjob from the cook in the back. The waitress ends up hooking up with the lesbian there. It ends up being like a whole mess, right? This whole kind of allegory that life would be better if people just really said how they feel. But most mature people, right, emotionally intelligent people know that the reason you don't say how you feel about every instance is because A, your feelings will change, and B, it's not really necessary all the time, right? So he uses the jewel, fucks up everybody in this whole fucks up everybody in the diner, and then he goes. Him and Dream end up meeting at the end, and him and Dream end up fighting. Johnny crushes the jewel. Dream gets all the power back from the jewel. Boo bop the boo. That's our first thing, right? So I really liked this first arc, this first storyline plot, because I think it was the strongest. I thought it really worked the best. You really kind of caught in, right? And I don't think we have another really good one like that until we get to the very end, because it kind of matches that with the Calipe or whatever. Because once we get to the Corinthian, I mean, it was entertaining. The Corinthian has pretty much now been is a mythicized serial killer, right? That these group of serial killers want him to speak at the serial convention. And it took me like a whole day to realize, like, why was it serial as in serial murder, serial killer, haha. So anyway, this Corinthian's going to speak at this convention. In the interim, Unity Kincaid's great-granddaughter, Rose, right, is a dream vortex, right? So you find out there's this dream vortex, and the Corinthian wants to use the dream vortex to reshape reality, to reshape dream world. Dream finds out about her. They're chasing Rose. The Rose and her young brother, her young brother, who have been separated, who's being like totally abused, who's being abused by like a family friend, being sitting in the basement, whatever. So we kind of meander that. Rose with her friend Lida, who gets pregnant from the dream world. And I'm just kind of like, okay. It was interesting enough, but we kind of see the interaction, with that, and like Lida and the dream world, the dream vortex, which still was good, like, those new characters. But I was like, okay, it did not get interesting till the way this arc ended, right? When Unity says, oh, I'm so happy for you that I got to have Rose. Because remember, you're like, how does Unity having kids if she's been asleep for like 100 or some years or whatever, right? A golden-eyed man came in her dream and had sex with her, and that's how they had the kid. And Dream's like, golden eyes? Who do I know with? This motherfucker. So then we get to probably, I think, the third best storyline is Dream and his siblings, right? So about the fifth episode, we meet Death, right? And we see the Dream in the Endless and all his siblings. So we have Dream, Death, Desire, Despair, Destruction, Delirium, right? So 6. So by this point, we've met Desire, we've met Despair, which are twins, right? But they don't look alike. And they all can like summon each other in their little like gallery rooms or whatever. And so Desire shows up and it's like, I think we got Dream now. And we find out that Desire Unity Kincaid was supposed to be the dream vortex, right? But because Dream had been captured, she couldn't wake up and be the dream vortex. So what Desire decided to do is have sex with Unity Kincaid while she was asleep / a child, or maybe not, and then pass the dream vortex down the lineage so that in thinking that at some point Dream is going to wake up and there'll be a dream vortex to get Dream, right? So that was like his plan. So Dream finds this out, goes to see Desire, snatches him up, and was like, you got one more motherfucking time to keep trying me, okay? Family or not, I will fuck you up if you keep fucking around with me in my realm, right? So I was like, and I like the kind of family dynamics, right? Because we found out there's a prodigal, which is Destruction, because I had to look that up. That's the one that's the prodigal that everyone talks about. But we haven't met Delirium, we haven't met Destiny, So those are probably other siblings that we'll meet. I really like the episode with him and Death. Because again, it's all about allegories, right? So it's an allegory intersection between death and dreams, right? And how they kind of interact with each other, and how Dream is very much off-putting, not used to humans, whereas Death deals with humans all the time, right? And so she's a lot more friendlier, a lot approachable. She's, she says when the first person was born, I was there because that person had to die, right? So she just has had more time to interact with people than Dream has. And then they have, and one of the things I really liked that they did was, Dream was like, well, the reason I got caught up in all this bullshit for 100 years is because they were trying to get you. She was like, yeah, I know. And I thought that was like a very good character moment. She didn't apologize. She didn't say sorry. She didn't say anything. So the truth is, Desire knew where that Dream had been captured, right? We know the Fates knew that Dream had been captured because we got to the 11th episode, but not everybody, not all of Dream's siblings knew that he had been captured until he had gotten out, right? So I thought that was very interesting. She's like, if I had known, I would have come get you, but I didn't know where you were. I didn't know what had happened to you, right? So, and really the interaction between Dream and his siblings I thought was really, really, really good. So now we skip to the very end, to the 11th episode, right? We have a little cat animation, which was cute. Dream as a cat, helping his cat, the Siamese cat, whatever. Not really a cat person, but I thought it was good. Thought it was fucked up that what the man did to the kittens, but whatever. I thought he was going to have some revenge. But the Calipe storyline was really, really good because it really much kind of went full circle with Dream. So the story starts off in 2008. So at this point, Dream is still captured or still in Roderick Burgess's basement, right? So we have this shitty writer who's teaching people how to write, even though he's only written one book, such is life, right? So he ends up getting a Bizor, which you find out is kind of the intestine of a woman who's been eating her hair. He takes that to his writer mentor friend, who's like, I'll trade you that because that'll give me eternal life, and I'll give you this muse who I captured. I'm thinking it's some kind of metaphorical muse. No, it's a whole ass female muse. Calliope, the daughter of Zeus, one of the muses, right? And I was like, the fuck? And Rick, the kind guy, was like, the fuck? He's like, so I'm giving her to you. You can take her. I don't want to see either of you one again. Bye. She's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on? And then he's like, I don't know if I can do this. She's like, you told me that I would be free when you died. He's like, you can't trust writers. They're horrible. They're liars. And she's like, the fuck? So Rick takes the muse back to his house, locks her in her room, and starts to force her to give her musical, inspiration, right? For him to be a writer, because he's taken a book advance and hasn't written a book in 2 years, and now the publishing company may sue him, and his agents threaten to fire him, and he needs to come out with a book. Now, the guy, Erasmus, the guy who gave him the muse, says that you can woo the muse, but he usually took it by force, right? So I really did understand, maybe I'm slow, go down in the comments, what the actual physical taking of the inspiration was. I hope it's not what I really think it is, because that's really crass. But that's kind of what they kind of led us to believe when he goes upstairs, knocks on the door, comes back with a scratch on his face, which I was like, okay, but really, anywho, needless to say, he gets his inspiration, and then he ends up taking it, and becomes this big success. And in the interim, she calls on the Fates, which are her sisters, right? Was like, can y'all get me out of this shit? And the Fates like, we can't get you out of this. That's not beyond our realm. You should call one of the Endless to help you. She's like, oh, fuck, you know about me and Morpheus? They're like, girl, tough times, tough decisions, because we don't know how you're supposed to get out of this. Come to find out, Calliope and Morpheus used to be married, and she's had a son. And the Fates are like, bitch, if you want to get out of here, that's who the fuck you need to call, because we don't know how to help you, okay? So they're like, bye, bitch. So then she's like, fuck, I gotta call on Morpheus. So in the interim, the Fates are like, and we don't know where Morpheus is, because he's been trapped by mortals too. So she's like, fuck. So what she sees is that once the sleeping sickness has passed, and she sees a newspaper article that says people are waking up. She knows that Morpheus is back. So then she writes his name on a piece of paper, scribbles it, says some incantation, and then Rick, the asshole, catches her, is like, tear, tears the piece of paper, is like, the King of Dreams can't save you, and throws it in the fireplace. Well, needless to say, the King of Dreams shows up and was like, the fuck, what happened, what? And she's like, I know, I've been captured, I heard you've been captured, I'm so sorry. He was like, oh no, we gonna get you out of this shit. Like, he's like, he's like, look, we'd have had some shit, we'd have had some problems, but you're the mother of my child, I'm gonna get you out this shit. And she was like, okay, what are you gonna do? Don't worry about the fuck I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get you out of this. So Morpheus goes and visits Rick and was like, you're keeping a woman upstairs, let her out or you're gonna catch it all the way. And like most people who don't believe fat meat is greasy, Rick was like, fuck you, I'll call the police. And he was like, police ain't gonna be able to help you, but trust and believe, you're gonna want some help by the time I'm getting done with you. And sure enough, Morpheus drives this guy crazy because he's like, you want motherfucking inspiration? I will give you inspiration. He has so much inspiration, he's like writing on the walls and with his blood in his fingers because he has so much inspiration. And in the process, he's like, tells us the person who gave him the Bezoar, go to my house, let this woman out, tell her she's free, whatever. So I guess all I had to do was like speak the words of freedom in order for Calliope to be free, because the woman shows up and there's no one in the bedroom. So Morpheus shows back up, was like, you good? She's like, I'm good. You know what? We said some things I didn't mean. He's like, you know what? That would happen, right? And then he's like, but I need you to release the guy, right? Because you can't be like, keep driving him crazy. And he's like, will you forgive him? She's like, I don't forgive the act, but I forgive the man, which is a very good life lesson about forgiveness anyway. Again, Neil Gaiman is like really on his game with like very much good life lesson truisms in this. So anyway, Dream lets the guy free. He can't think of anything now, right? And Calliope goes away, Dream goes away, and that's kind of how we end our series. So again, I thought it was a really, really great series. I loved it. I'm very excited to see where the entire, what the next season's going to be. I think I'm going to buy the trade, like I said, and read it. So anyway, let me know what you thought of the entire series. I know I kind of glossed over a lot of probably some really good points that I probably missed, but I would love to have discussions. Like this, share this, put on the alert button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.